Welcome back. Now it's time to hear what our panel have to say about the future of LA Makeup Academy. Let's reintroduce that panel. They are tax and business advisor Stephen Egan, who has a wealth of experience under his belt, head of small business banking at Bank of Ireland, Damien Young, the managing partner of Holmes O'Malley Sexton legal firm, Harry Feely, and Paddy Collins, who's head of small and medium business at Vodafone Ireland. Let's recap on what Lorraine has to say about her business.
I always had a vision that I wanted to open up a makeup school. I knew exactly what it would look like, where I wanted it to be. A couple of things have changed along the way, but ultimately the vision of owning a school in Dublin came to fruition and have never ever looked back. The company offers a range of different services. We look after students, training them to become makeup artists and fashion stylists.
Let's begin with you, Paddy. If ever there was a business that was going to engage in social marketing or social networking, this is it.
Absolutely. LA Makeup really have two core challenges, namely, how can they keep their existing client base, as a lot of the Eastern Europeans are heading home, and how can they exploit effectively the international markets that they want to get into. And Lorraine herself mentioned social networking. And social networking, I think, is a very smart and a very cost-effective way of getting in touch with potential clients. If we take it from an Irish context alone, I'm sure people have heard of social networking sites called Facebook. And Facebook, believe it or not, have got approximately 900,000 users in Ireland and growing. You factor in the likes of Twitter and Bebo, and you've got a fantastic opportunity to cost effectively reach a wide community of people and a wide range of clients, very specific actually probably to Lorraine's target market.
Damien, the lads are talking about developmental issues. I mean, really, it's about watching the pounds, shillings and pence, to use that older phrase, pre-decimalisation phrase. I mean, it really is about watching your money right now. And she did discuss a number of payment options for students and all these things. But there's probably wider issues.
Absolutely. I suppose cash flow is the key in any business at the moment. Now, from Lorraine, I mean, she's got great energy, she's innovative, she's customer focused, and she's forward looking, which is a great start to any business. In terms of the cash flow, I mean, she's operating in three kind of segments. She's looking at the private sector, where she's doing the weddings and the debs and so on. So that gives her cash flow, upfront payments and so on. In the academy side of the business, then she has brought in a very innovative financial model for people to make payments. So she just needs to manage that to ensure that it fits with the cash flow of the business. But it can give her competitive advantage too.
Yeah, I think you're talking as well about product diversification to a certain degree.
Absolutely. So she is, I mean, operating in the third category, so she's operating is in the professional side. Now, the professional side, she just needs to be careful because there probably will be credit terms involved in the professional side. So from that perspective, she just needs to manage that exposure that she has and to ensure that she's good at collecting the money that she's owed from the professional sector.
Do you think enough businesses are looking around and saying, look, I'm doing this all of the time, but I have this piece of infrastructure. I could be doing a lot more. I could be getting money from people I never thought about before.
I think so. I think in the current market, it does open up niches. It does open up more innovation. I think the winners in this type of market in any business will be the ones that are innovative and looking at new markets, looking at new options, and looking at diversification of their product base.
Damien, I think she's moving also to a market in America where there'll be a different regulatory environment.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, she's going to have to look into that, and it's going to be difficult. It's also more litigious society, so insurance is going to be a big issue
Correct.
for her over there.
Yeah, and even in terms of moving to the American market, and she's probably buying products from overseas as well, so she just needs to manage the exposure in terms of foreign exchange and so on like that. And from that perspective, from a cost perspective as well, she should be able to look at that way to reduce the costs in the business through the foreign exchange.
Yeah, Stephen, is there a possibility that companies like Lorraine's, and not hers specifically, you know, out of desperation can do the wrong thing, that they actually get involved in all sorts of schemes, trying to grow their business in different ways? We're talking about franchising and so on, but they take their eye off the ball locally.
Yes, it's quite possible, okay, and there has been a lot of talk about marketing and various things today. We should remember that this is a school where it's a human experience. A lot of people are attending, and one of the most fundamental things is in the school part is the word of mouth that people are going to say about the courses afterwards. So the quality of that course, as it's delivered, is very fundamental, both now and into the future in terms of reputation and so on. So that mustn't be lost track of, besides trying to forge ahead and do other things in a very difficult climate.
Yeah, we've looked at other companies as well and noticed that they had a lot of, you know, human resource. There's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of people involved in bookkeeping, a lot of people involved in accounting. Are there other ways, are there more streamlined ways of taking that on board, doing it maybe online, doing it in outsourcing, that sort of thing?
Well, there is a possibility, given that the school will appear to have 2 locations shortly, Los Angeles and Dublin. An online accounting system would have the advantage that to be able to tap into what's happening on both sides of the water as such, easily able to see the up-to-date position. But at the same time, somebody will have to be on top of that, somebody will have to be managing that. They won't just write themselves up. But just from that point of view, it's handier.
Paddy, when we talk about things like getting the whole computerized system up to scratch and so on, I suppose on the marketing side, there's an awful lot more could be done in this particular business without spending conventional books. And we spoke about Facebook and Bebo and so on. What about marketing through the whole online space?
Well, I think it actually does come back to the likes of social networking, because it looks at who is their target market. And I think there's 2 key issues for them. One is the target market within the Irish market space, particularly as their traditional market base is actually going back home into Eastern Europe. But it's also about they want to exploit into Japan, India, Brazil, and how can they do that cost effectively? Because relatively speaking, they're a small company. And using the likes of the social networking sites, Stephen talked about word of mouth. This is effectively an online way of getting word of mouth out to an international community, very smartly and very cost effectively. However, what's important to remember is that not all social networking sites are the same. So for example, while here in Ireland, Facebook will be the de facto social networking site, which a lot of people will be aware of, in the likes of Brazil, which is a market that they want to target, the primary social networking site would be a site called Orkut, I think it's called, run by Google or powered by Google. So therefore it's very important that she's researching the markets that she's going into so that she can target smartly the people that she wants to get. So really, you know, social networking is like a very smart online PR network to like-minded people.
Do you think it's the right time for her to expand? Do you think she should be concentrating on the home fires rather than looking to this expansion? You know, and even when we're talking about Bebo and Facebook and all of those sort of things, they do represent some sort of expansion, or do they? Are they just normal marketing activities on a localized basis?
Well, I think there's 2 things I think Lorraine is trying to achieve. One is to use online to attract new customers to her existing business here in Ireland, and then the other is how can she exploit new international markets for her services, and using, you know, things like LinkedIn, for example. How is she going to go effectively into countries like Japan? She talks about, does she partner up or does she go directly to the schools themselves? Would she use partners? My advice would be it would make far more sense to use partners, and she could look at sourcing those partners on sites like LinkedIn. So do a lot of pre-work before you actually get in a plane and travel over to Brazil. So, you know, be ambitious, but be cautious and be smart in terms of how you make that step forward.
Damien, looking at the challenges that face this particular business, and in fact the challenges that face business of that sort, I mean, it's a service business, you know, to a great degree. There's some form of operations, but it really is a service business. You know, how would you evaluate something like that if you were looking at trying to build a business plan, or they were building a business plan looking for your support?
Well, I think business planning, you've said it there, I mean, that is absolutely crucial for Lorraine, and going forward in terms of looking at new markets, looking at new customer bases. The business plan has to be in place. It has to be a solid business plan on how she's going to achieve that. I think that Lorraine, as a promoter of the business, has got all the qualities of a successful entrepreneur. She's energetic, she's enthusiastic, she's looking out at new opportunities. And when we look at businesses, we are looking at the promoter behind the business. And fundamentally, the success of the business comes from the promoter.
The business plan, how important, Stephen? I mean, is it all nuts and bolts, or should you be actually talking about, you know, your vision and so on, or is it all about the numbers?
Well, it's very important, obviously, but I think a very critical point in this business is they need to develop a very substantial course. At the moment, the largest course, as far as I can see, is a 2-month course for €3,500. Now, there's a lot of management time goes into advertising courses, promoting courses, etc. I think they need to be looking for a course in the €6,000 or €7,000 range that might stretch over 4 or 5 months.